Question number 27. Oh, so the one I was mentioning earlier. Okay, so again, take a read over it. I'll give you 2 minutes to see what you can do with it. I was talking to some people in my office hours yesterday about this fact that the important thing about this class, like I can give you the answer to every question in here, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that makes sense, and you can still fail the exam. Because the point is that you've got to get used to dealing with this issue of, I see a question, I have no idea how to do it. What do I do with that? If you say, well, because I've never done a question like this before, I have no idea how to do it, then you're going to fail the exam because there's going to be a good chunk of questions that you've never seen before. We're telling you up front that, okay? So what that means is you have to get used to that uncomfortable feeling and figure out what are you going to do with that. Okay, so 2 minutes, give 27 a shot, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, that's 2 minutes. I still worry that I'm not getting the point across well enough. Like, again, because we just did the target thing, like I would hope that if I change the number of columns or the number of elements on each target, that you'd be able to do it easy. Because now you see the trick. Now you see how to do it. But that's not what happens. Like questions 20 through 25 are not different combinations of target shooting, right? And there's a reason for that. Question 27, only a couple questions away, is something completely different. How many distinct paths are there from -120 to 137 in Euclidean 3 space if each move is one of the following types? It's completely different question, except it's identical. And that's what you got to see. You've got to do enough of these things. You got to do enough different questions to be able to get to a place where you see that 27 is the same thing as the target thing. It's really no different. Okay, and again, I can go over and explain this. And once I explain it, like, you know that feeling right now you have, like if you've never done this question before, the feeling you have of I have no freaking clue what's going on. As soon as I explain it, you'll be like, oh, that makes total sense. But then you'll go to question 28. And for question 28, you'll look at it and you'll stare at it and you'll be like, I have no freaking clue what's going on. Right? So me explaining it is a great thing. Like I want to help you guys and I want you to learn this. But it's not going to help you. Like if I literally just took up the entire class time, and I've actually had people give me bad reviews saying, hey, Rob, you should just do this on the Seek stores or ratemyprofessor.com or whatever, right? And the reason is because they like, yeah, Rob, just give us more and more examples. I'm like, it's not going to help. You think it is because that's what high school is like. You think it is because that's what calculus is even like. It's not going to help here. Because I could go through every single example in the book, and you would still you'd still see questions on the test that you've never seen before, and you'd still have absolutely no idea how to do it if you're not looking to learn how to deal with that confusion when you experience it. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you're doing these questions. That's what this is for. That's what this is teaching you. All right, so what we've got here is you're starting in 3 space at this point, -120, and you need to reach this other point, which is 137. Now, I could just go straight there, except that's not allowed. There's only 3 things allowed. One is I could go 1 to the right, or 1 on one of the coordinates, 1 on the other coordinate, or 1 on the other coordinate. So after 1 step, I can either end up at, let's say this is x, 0, 2, 0, or let's say this is y, I could end up at -1, 3, 0, or I could end up on z, I could go -1, 2, 1. That's the only moves I can make at the first step. And then from each of those points, I can only go 1 to the right, 1 up, or 1 out, right? 1 in each direction. Those are the only moves I can. They call those an H move, a V move, and an A move, horizontal, vertical, and amplitude, I guess, or altitude. Hey everybody, let's take a break from the example for a sec. The example I'm doing here is really just a single example, and there are literally infinitely more problems you can run into on a discrete math exam. And odds are good you'll run into problems you've never seen before and be expected to apply what you know to solving them. But if you don't understand the content, you have no hope. So, if you're taking a university, if you're a student taking a university discrete math course, and you're serious about not just getting a good grade, of course, yes, getting a good grade, but if you're serious about understanding the content, then go ahead and click the first link in the description down below and book a free call with me. Now, back to the example. And so the question is, well, how do I get from this point, -120, to here, 137? Well, let's start with the x-coordinate. It's at -1, it needs to end up at 1. So I need to start at -1 and move 2 to get to 1. And the only move that affects the x-coordinate is the h, is the horizontal movement. So I need to do 2 h's. They may not be together. One might be at the beginning, one might be at the end, but I need to do 2 h's. In the same way, for the y value, I've got a 2 here in the coordinate. I need to end up at 3. So I need to do 1 vertical move at some point. Just 1 vertical move. That's all I got to do. If I do a second vertical move, I move from 2 to 3 to 4. Well, now the y value has a 4, and notice that there's no moves that bring you back. Right? Once I move up to a y value of 4, I'm screwed. I can't possibly get there. Okay? And so I need to do 2 horizontal, 1 vertical, and I've gotten from a -1 to 0. 0 is the z coordinate, and I need to move up to 7. So I need to move 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 A's. I need to move 7 A's, 7 of the A movements. And so this will get me there. This represents a path to get me there. HH, so move the x coordinates all the way up to 1. Then V, so move the y coordinate up to 3. And then 7 A's, move the z coordinate all the way up to 7. That would be one particular path to get through. And so all I need to do is count strings like this. And you can see now it's exactly the same as the previous question. The answer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 factorial over 2 factorial, 1 factorial, 7 factorial. That's the answer. But now we got the idea. This is what I would write on scrap paper, by the way. Now the question of, okay, how do I actually present that answer? Hey guys, if you are looking for help with learning discrete math or proofs, I know they're tough, then make sure to subscribe, as I'm literally going to be posting every example I have here for free on YouTube to help you learn and understand discrete math proofs. Back to the example. Okay. So to move from -1 to 0 to 137 using the given movements, I must use exactly 2 H's, 1 V, and 7 A's. The order in which I do them determines the path I take. Thus, the number of paths equals the number of orderings, which is, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 factorial over 2 factorial, 1 factorial, and yes, make sure you put 1 factorial, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 factorial. Yes, 1 factorial is 1, it doesn't change anything, but putting it there tells me that you know what's going on. Thus, the number of paths equals the number of orderings, which is that, period. Okay. Mark says, would you recommend solving the question first and then writing out your response, or writing out your response while you solve the question? Absolutely. You need to get the idea first. And that's something I will always do in these questions. I'll spend a lot of time trying to get the idea how to do it, and then come back and write your final answer. And so this becomes super, super important how you write exams in this class. When you get to question 1, you look at the question, you read it. If you know exactly how to do it, do the question. If you do not immediately, and I mean immediately, don't even take 10 seconds to think about it. If you don't know immediately how to answer the question, move on to question 2. Skip that question. Because it might be that question 2 you do know exactly how to solve. You want to get all those ones out first. Everything you know exactly how to solve first. So there is no struggling to figure out the idea. It's just, let me just write out how to do it. Okay, so you go through the entire exam once, just putting stuff you know exactly how to do. Then you go back to the beginning, and again, go through very, very quickly, giving yourself only 10 seconds of thought time on a question. 10 seconds, literally. If you don't know how to do it after 10 seconds of thought, again, skip it. Because it might very well have been that question 7 gave you a hint on question 3. Okay, so that kind of thing will happen. Now, after you've gone through the exam twice, okay, now you've got a really good idea. You've got a good chunk of questions done, hopefully, right? That depends on your studying. Now, did your studying get you enough studying that when it came to the exam, there was a good chunk of the questions, hopefully at least half, that you know exactly how to do? Then now you're moving into the second half of the exam, maybe, right? And you now start looking at the questions you don't know how to do, and that's when you start playing with them, trying to find ways. Maybe you find a way to get it, maybe you don't, but you're trying to play with it and get the part marks, or you're trying to play with it and get the full solution, right? So it's super, super important to do the questions in the right order, because the worst thing is question 1, you don't know how to do it. You start on that question, you spend all your time trying to figure out how to do this question, you get almost nowhere. And question 2, 3, and 4, you knew exactly how to do, but because you're in an exam situation, and now all of a sudden you get an announcement from us saying, hey, you now have 20 minutes left. The exam is almost over. You have 20 minutes left. You freak out and you start writing questions 2, 3, and 4, and you write them in a way that is completely screws them up, even though you knew how to do it, just because you're stressed now. Okay. So as much as possible, you do the questions you know how to do first. And then after that, the questions you're just trying to squeeze out some marks on. And so what that looks like is you might do something like this small, you might do something like this on scrap paper, and then come back and do this. If you're only in the last 5 minutes of the exam, then I would do this on the exam paper itself, and even just try to explain what's going on if you've got a few seconds left, right? But this is what you want your final answer to look like. Brianne, can we use point form for worded answers? I mean, yes and no. The problem is when most people say point form, it ends up being not specific enough, not detailed enough. And so they lose the mark. So I would just recommend using sentences. Get fast at writing. Question here. I thought you can have 12 factorial to go here. Why we have to in order when we can go without order to get on that point? Not sure what you're referring to here. 12 factorial. I certainly don't see that in this problem. $10 factorial. Okay. So why can't you just do 10 factorial? Because this particular ordering of doing things, H, H, V, A, is exactly the same if I take all of these A's and I reverse the order. Like if this is the first A, second A, third A, fourth A, fifth A, sixth A, seventh A, and then I switch the order around. I do the seventh A first, then the sixth, then the fifth, then the fourth. Like that doesn't change anything in the path. And so if you just do 10 factorial, that's assuming all of these things are different. That the A's are all different. This is a special A, and this is a special A, this is a different special A, and this is a different special A. And so if you do 10 factorial, then switching these two A's would be a different answer. That's the reason why you can't just do 10 factorial here. Okay. Any other question on that one? No problem. These questions, like, I think these questions are a lot of fun, honestly. Like a lot of these are crazy hard. They really are. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember, what I've explained here is just a tiny, tiny example in the literally infinite space of problems there could be that you'd run into. So, if you're interested in really understanding this content, getting a good grade because you understand the content, go ahead and click the first link down below and book a free call with me, and let's talk about if I can actually help you do well in this course.